The list of NFL current free agents is pretty incredible. I'm not just talking about DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook either, who we know will sign somewhere very soon. You've got players like Clowney, Ngakoue, Zeke, Kareem Hunt, Taylor Lewan, Kyle Van Noy, Dalton Reisner, the list goes on and on today. I want to go through and point out the real reason a lot of these well-known players, good players, still haven't found a home. And the reasons will shock you. Just kidding, they're going to make total sense. It'll be age, money, injury, diminishing skill, or some sort of combo of all. But if I don't titillate you, you won't watch. Did I titillate you? Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Now, I love the Best Ball Mania tournament, especially since it now has a $3 million prize for first place. But I'm even more excited for their new contest, Weekly Winners. It's the same best ball format, so you draft your team once, draft it now, and Underdog tallies your best possible score every week. But the payouts also happen every week. That means you have a chance to win $20,000 every single week this upcoming football season. Best Ball Mania doesn't pay out till the end of the season. This has big payouts every week. And if you want to play against me in a private draft, I'm dropping a link in the description. We're going to do a big $25 entry, 18 rounds with 10 people playing. Slow draft format, so you have several hours to make your picks. My private draft starts once that league is full. So use my link below, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. And don't forget to check out Weekly Winners. I'm going to start with the lowest ranked player available on this top 100 free agent list for this episode. Eli Apple. An apple a day makes your patience go away. Eli Apple has never been a really good NFL corner, and while he's never been really good, he's never been as bad as people made him out to be either. He just fit with the Bengals and that 2021 really good defense. But if you take away his 2 picks from 2021, he may have actually played a little bit better last season. I believe you can never have enough capable corners on your roster, and at age 28, Apple should still be seen as having value at a premium position. Outside of the 25-year-old Isaiah Rodgers, who is a free agent because he was suspended for sports betting, Apple's one of the best/youngest corners that is still a free agent. But the real reason Apple isn't on a roster right now is because nobody wants to pay him the $11 million per year he's seeking, and he talks way too much shit for being such an average corner.
Like, I'm pulling for Von Bell and Trey. Eli a little bit.
Then we got DeAndre Hopkins. D-Hop is still a free agent because we know he's just weighing his options. Both the Patriots and Titans have hosted him and made him offers. And it's been reported that the Titans actually made the more aggressive offer. So the Patriots probably did this.
Here's your contract offer, Hopkins. Go ahead if you want to sign it.
Not very aggressive indeed. The Titans were like,
Sign this fucking contract! There's good money in here!
we got no damn ball catchers here in Tennessee, and this is where Hall of Fame receivers come to die, D-Hop.
Sign the fucking paper! Sign it! Sign it, please!
D-Hop, though, is simply waiting to see if a more competitive team than the Titans or the Patriots come knocking. And trust me, there are plenty of those. Simply, he's waiting for the Bills or Chiefs to make him a real offer. And Hopkins apparently is okay with having the ability to make more money via incentives to make the cap work for one of those teams. Most recently, he seems to be waiting to see if the Chiefs free up cap space with the Chris Jones extension so they can make a competitive offer to Hopkins, while the Bills have let it slip that they want him, but for a ring-chasing discount. Then we've got Taylor Lewan. For 6 straight seasons, Lewan was one of the better left tackles in the league. Never the best or a top 5 guy, but always solid and balanced. Both very good in run and pass protection. Now, Lewan is no longer on the Titans roster because he failed the physical back in February. Lewan only played 64 snaps in the 2022 season after tearing his ACL for a second time in less than 2 years. So the real reason Lewan isn't on a team right now is because his knee injury never healed properly. And there are a few interesting things happening with Taylor Lewan. The injury concerns are fair, and he's got his Bussin' with the Boys podcast that's really starting to take off under the Barstool umbrella. And he's suing the doctor who did his first ACL repair. That's right, Lewan is suing renowned orthopedist Dr. James Andrews for medical malpractice for his October 2020 surgery, repairing his torn right ACL, leaving him with severe and permanent damage. This is from the lawsuit. Permanent injury to his right knee and surrounding structures, tendons, cartilage, and ligaments, and cutting Lewan's NFL career short as a result of negligent acts and omissions. So the reason Lewan hasn't signed is his knee may be beyond repair. Plus, I feel like he's seeing his future after football as a full-time podcaster and sports personality, which is obviously very fun. Don't do it, Taylor. Then we've got Yannick Ngakoue. He had 9.5 sacks last season with the Colts, 10 the year before with the Raiders, 8, 9.5, 12, 8 sacks, so he's been very consistent. It's not like he had this one crazy 18-sack season and then was never able to live up to that hype. He hasn't developed into that complete edge player who can do everything from the position on every down. He's suited to be more of a pass rush specialist at this point. But let's be honest, he's played for 2 shit defenses over the last 2 seasons with the Raiders and the Colts, and any team right now questioning their depth at the edge should sign him immediately. Then we've got Jadeveon Clowney, who's now 30 years old, and Ngakoue just 28. Clowney is maybe more of a complete edge defender, but he's got the bad combo of age and injuries piling up against him. Now, 30 is not a death sentence for edge players like it is for running backs and corners, but that age with injuries, concerning. He had ankle issues and a concussion last season, knee issues in 2020. His 9 sacks for the Browns in 2021 opposite Myles Garrett is exactly what Cleveland wanted from him. He only had 2 sacks last season, but that was due to missed games. Other than that, he's still a solid player and will get signed as soon as an edge rusher gets dinged up. Clowney's problem always really has been just not living up to the expectations we had for him. But if I wanted to bring in the best edge rusher available, I'd grab Kyle Van Noy, even though he's the oldest bastard on the list at the edge position. If you look at his last 4 seasons, statistically, he's been insanely consistent. The Chargers literally had him play all 3 different linebacker spots last year, but once he was locked into a singular position, he went 5 straight games with the sack to finish the season. If he wasn't 32, he would have been signed the first week of free agency. Then we've got quarterbacks. Teddy Bridgewater, the man who knows how to play second fiddle with the best. Teddy's proven himself as a capable backup. Last year, he stepped up for the Miami Dolphins when Tua Tagovailoa got injured. And although he didn't win any games, he showed his mettle by completing 62% of his passes for 683 yards and 4 touchdowns. Teddy, though, has the one great flaw you don't want in your backup, which is fragility. A reason the Dolphins had to start Skylar Thompson in a playoff game. Carson Wentz, still a free agent, still good enough to take up a roster spot in the NFL, especially with the new rule that allows a team to dress an extra quarterback. There's plenty of quarterbacks currently on rosters that Wentz is better than, but I also understand why he's still unsigned. Wentz has the talent to be a capable backup or spot starter, but he's also a massive burden on a team. His near MVP season in 2017 tricked people into thinking he was that guy or could return to being that guy, when in reality his second season was an outlier coupled with a bad injury. Wentz also has been a polarizing guy in the locker room, reportedly butting heads with teammates and coaches, and that's just not a quality you want in a backup QB. You want a guy who's content holding the clipboard, helping develop the starter, but ready to run the offense at the drop of a hat. My guess is that Wentz views himself as a starting QB, and other teams know that he isn't, winning just 2 of 7 starts and throwing 9 picks in Washington last year. Then we've got corner Marcus Peters, who has long been one of the most talented ball hawks in the NFL, but there's also a reason a 2-time All-Pro has played for 3 different teams through his 8-year career. There have been reports as recently as last month that Peters and the Raiders have been in contact, and honestly, it feels like Peters is a quintessential Raider, possibly over the hill, questionable character, and gets burned gambling for interceptions. Please sign him, Raiders. Peters also recently turned 30 and will be a couple years removed from an ACL tear, so that in itself is a gamble betting on a corner of that age and recent injury history. If he was to accept a modest deal, I'd want him somewhere in my secondary, but that's a big ask for a guy with his accolades and talent. Then we have just former Broncos. A lot of them. Maybe one reason Denver hasn't been good is because their players haven't been as good as we fans would like to believe. Now, I already mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, but you've got Melvin Gordon, free agent, Shelby Harris, Ron Darby, Bryce Callahan, Michael Schofield, Eric Tomlinson, and Dalton Reisner. I'd throw in Phillip Lindsay, but he's a proud member of the Seattle Dragons. These are all players that were on the roster within the last couple years and starters outside of Tomlinson and Schofield because it's been a while since he was a Bronco. But I won't spend too much time here because I might cry. But I wanted to mention corner Ron Darby hasn't signed because he tore his ACL last October. Once he can prove his knee is good to go, someone who needs a corner will get a very solid player, I say mid-season. Shelby Harris is now 32 years old and was released by Seattle after Denver dealt the defensive tackle in the Russell Wilson trade. Seattle could use him back for depth on their D-line, but they don't have the cap space for that at the moment. Shelby played on the hometown discount far too long through his career for him to take less now at age 32. But the real interesting player is guard Dalton Reisner, still up for grabs. He's a workhorse on the field, and as good as a dude as you could ask for off the field, and it was a bit harsh the Broncos didn't make him an offer after nominating him for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in 2022. It seems like Reisner has plenty of suitors lining up for his services. There are reportedly up to 7 teams interested in signing Reisner, and at the estimated market value of just under 10 mil, I could see why he hasn't signed, because I think he's viewed as a depth piece. His standout year was arguably 2020, where he played almost 1,000 snaps without allowing a single sack or penalty. I think Reisner's success, though, depends on fit more than anything, because the 2 seasons after that were not good. Just don't ask me what scheme fit that is, because nothing bores me more than talking about fucking blocking. Don't forget, a great way to support this channel is by buying my fucking delicious coffee. BenchwarmerBrew.com. We still have the Losers Blend. We've got mugs. We dropped our tea, our chai tea, Higgins. And over at Instagram at Brandon Perna, we'll be doing a giveaway for the tea this week. So let's go on to running backs. It's a terrible year to be a 28-year-old running back, but a great year if you're an NFL team who gets an unexpected injury to the running back position. So we have Dalvin Cook at age 27, then it's Ezekiel Elliott, 28, Kareem Hunt, 28, Leonard Fournette, 28. The real reason all 4 of these guys are still free agents is market saturation. I look at that list, and outside of Dalvin Cook, it's like they're all the same player right now. If just one of those guys were available, I think they would have already signed somewhere. But they don't have any leverage because their clones are available as well. Now, Dalvin Cook will sign once he agrees to take less money than he's worth, which sucks, but that's true. He'll also make $2 million from the Vikings even if he doesn't play, so he's got to wait for a team to make him a much better offer than that $2 million he'll get for doing nothing, which they need to have in the first year of his contract if he signs a multi-year deal with a new team. Unlike the other 3 big-name backs available, Dalvin Cook is the only one who was top 10 in yards after contact last season. In fact, he was 4th, just ahead of Christian McCaffrey. He also tied Aaron Jones for 8th most runs of 10 yards or more. Ezekiel Elliott still has some gas in the tank, I'll admit that, just not as a center. Please, though, don't let this be Zeke's last play ever in the NFL. He's not top 10 like Cook in yards after contact. Zeke was 15th. He's still tremendous, though, at the goal line, totaling 12 rushing touchdowns last year. Obviously, Dallas cut him because they made him one of the most overpaid backs in NFL history several years ago. It is money for Zeke, that's the reason, but the real reason not a single team has signed him is explosiveness. Zeke's longest run last season was just 27 yards. The Patriots, Pierre Strong, had a 44-yard rip, and he only had 10 carries all year. Zeke had 254. Just 17 runs over 10 yards and a career-low 3.7 yards per carry. Then there's Kareem Hunt. He has spent the last 4 years in Cleveland playing a perfect complementary role to Nick Chubb. Hunt's shown flashes of brilliance even as a number 2 back and was noted by Derek Wolfe on my That's Good Broncos podcast, subscribe there on YouTube, to be one of the toughest backs in the league to tackle. However, last season with the Browns was disappointing, and he even demanded a trade at one point. Despite no teams biting on the trade offer, Hunt still has the potential to contribute as a reliable veteran. He's a versatile back who can run and catch. But GMs around the league seem to believe Hunt is in the process of losing a big step, which is fair. He was not as effective last season. His longest run was just 24 yards, so worse than Zeke, and that was week 1. His yards per carry dropped by just over a yard, and his yards per reception were the lowest of his career, all while Nick Chubb stayed pretty much the same. That's the real problem. Had he not been on the same team as Chubb, whose production didn't change, you could argue a dip in his production wasn't his fault. Chubb still being great is why Hunt hasn't signed.
And Leonard Fournette, he's the 4th best available back on this list, and I'm just not sure he's got it anymore. Also, he's a shit driver.
And then finally, we've got John Johnson III, the former star defensive back for the LA Rams. He hit the market in 2021 and landed a big contract with the Cleveland Browns, but things just didn't work out in Cleveland, and he was let go after just 2 seasons. The real reason, though, he hasn't signed: a saturation of John Johnsons III in the NFL. How the fuck are there 2 Johnny Johnson IIIs? While Johnson may not have fit with the Browns, he still has plenty to offer at just 27. Who gives a shit? There's 2 John Johnsons in the NFL? And those are the real reasons those free agents have yet to be signed. Subscribe here. YouTube, do it.